All right, well, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining me tonight for a topic that I just love, pets and essential oils. And my co-host Zeke is being shy, even though I have a pile of treats in front of me. He is in his kennel hanging out, but he sends his well wishes. So just to give you a little bit of background, my name is Glenda Robichaux, and I've been using doTERRA essential oils for about, over 9 years. And we got Zeke probably around 8.5 years ago. So I've probably had oils the whole time that we've had him. And he really loves essential oils. And it's been fun to kind of experiment with him and see what he likes and what he doesn't like and kind of use them in other things. So we will just dive right in. So tonight, first, I just wanted to mention that quality is very important. You know, if you Google using essential oils and animals on the internet, you're going to get all kinds of horror stories. I always have people texting me going, oh my gosh, I love my oils, but I don't know if I should diffuse. I have an animal. And there's just so many myths out there. And really what it boils down to is the quality of the essential oil that you're using. You want to know where your essential oils are coming from. Unfortunately, essential oils are extremely adulterated in the market today. And I mean, they're at Target, they're at the dollar store, they're at, hardware stores. They're at places where it's just, that's not really their specialty, and that's probably not a real essential oil. So it's important to know where your oil is coming from to make sure that it's free of synthetics and that it's completely pure and that you're getting the part of the plant that is advertised. Essential oils are not regulated, so there's a lot of shenanigans out there in the market. But tonight I'm going to be focusing on doTERRA essential oils, and doTERRA is certified pure therapeutic grade. And something that I wanted to mention that I think is really cool is about 2 years ago, doTERRA created a veterinarian advisory board. And I think that's really neat that they've got a board that, is just really looking to make sure that we are doing the right thing. And if you're interested in learning more about that, you can go to doterra.com and just put in the search bar veterinarian advisory board, and you can find information on them. And again, just you want to know where your essential oils are coming from. You want to know that they're safe and pure, and you want to avoid any synthetics that might be harmful to your little furry friends. And this is Ragnar on this photo, one of Zeke's furry friends. So some really important things to keep in mind when you're using essential oils with pets. And I just want to give the caveat here, I am a dog owner. Unfortunately, I'm allergic to cats. So I have very little knowledge on using essential oils with cats, but stuff that I've read along the way I'll be sharing tonight. But my background is more with using it with my dog. So when you are starting to use an essential oil with an animal, you want to slowly kind of introduce it to them. You know, if you think about animals and dogs in particular, their sense of smell is extremely intense. And when we think about an essential oil, it's 50 to 70 times more potent than a dried herb. So it's extremely concentrated. So we want to keep that in mind because their noses are way more intense than ours. And something that's also important is to kind of let your pet choose an oil. And how you would do that is you can just let them smell the bottle of oil with the cap on, because they're going to be able to smell it. And kind of watch for their reaction. So with Zeke, with my dog, he will actually kind of start to lick a lot if he likes the oil. Sometimes he'll lay on his back and just roll over and put his paws up in the air like, yes, put the oil on me. And if it's something that he doesn't like, he'll walk away or run away from me. So that's kind of how I gauge what oil I might use with him. Sometimes I'll have a couple of oils and I'll let him smell and just kind of watch for that reaction of which one he really seems to like and which one he doesn't. You know, sometimes it's even just as simple as he might turn his head away from the bottle, you know, if he doesn't walk away or run away. But other times when he really likes it, he might just keep getting closer. He might start licking. So those are things that you'll want to watch for when you're introducing an oil to your pet. When it comes to using oils topically on animals, you're going to always, always, always want to dilute the essential oil. And you can use things like coconut oil, olive oil, almond oil. But again, you just want to dilute it so it's not too intense for them. And I will cover which I'll cover in the next couple slides. There's some oils that you definitely want to avoid when using topically on cats and dogs, and I'll get to that. Another thing with using essential oils is, of course, we love to diffuse in our house to help cleanse the air, help uplift our mood. And when you're diffusing essential oils, and if you have a cat or a dog, you just want to make sure that you leave a door open and they have a way to leave the room. Again, they're going to communicate with you if they like something or don't. So more often than not, if it's something that Zeke doesn't like, he'll just leave the room that I'm diffusing the oil in. A lot of people get really concerned, and when they start using essential oils, they think that they can't use them if they have an animal. And again, you know, the quality is very important. You want to make sure that it's a pure oil. But besides that, you just really want to allow the animal to be able to come and go from the room that you are diffusing oil in. I thought this was kind of important to mention too, is to remember that each animal is an individual, just like we are, and they might be more or less sensitive to essential oils. And that's something that, again, you'll just kind of have to observe and kind of start to watch their behavior, because they'll tell you. And then something very important, you don't ever want to get essential oils in the pets directly in their ears, their eyes, or near their genitals or anus, because it will be too intense. I mean, even as humans, we don't ever want to get essential oils directly in our ears or in our eyes because it's very uncomfortable. So just a few things to keep in mind there. If you did happen to get essential oil, say near the eye of your dog or cat, you would want to use a carrier oil and not water, because water is going to make the oil penetrate more and cause more discomfort. So if you did happen to do that, you know, putting some coconut oil or olive oil on a tissue and maybe just kind of dabbing at the area, that will help lessen the sensation. So let's dive right in here. So some oils that you want to use caution with when diffusing around dogs, and again, that's allowing them to be able to leave the room, would be tea tree, or also known as melaleuca, cassia, cinnamon, oregano, and thyme. And you know, if you notice that your furry friend is panting really heavy and it's not hot out, or your dog hasn't been running around, or if perhaps they're showing signs of distress, you want to turn off the diffuser and then just get them some fresh air. So again, just kind of watching for their behavior. But I will say that I have been diffusing oils around Zeke for 8.5 years, and I've never noticed any of that. But again, all animals are different, just like we as humans are all different. So with cats are more sensitive than dogs, so the list is a little bit longer here. So some oils to use, caution with when diffusing around cats. Again, tea tree and melaleuca. Cats and dogs don't have the right enzyme to be able to break down that oil. So that's part of the issue, is they just don't have the ability to metabolize it like we do. Some other oils to use caution with when diffusing around cats. Again, it's going to be cassia, cinnamon, oregano, and thyme. But then also, in addition, peppermint, spearmint, birch, and wintergreen. And again, if you notice that the cat is having some odd behavior while you're diffusing the oil, stop the diffuser and get your cat some fresh air. And then also just some oils to avoid for topical and internal use with dogs would again be the tea tree melaleuca, wintergreen, birch, Douglas fir, thyme, deep blue, our soothing blend that has the wintergreen in it, and purify, our cleansing blend that has tea tree oil in it. And then if you were to use cloves, cinnamon, or oregano topically or internally, you're going to want to use with some caution. And oils to avoid for topical and internal use with cats. I just want to give a caveat here. I think that from the limited knowledge I have on cats, but from what I've heard is that they're just more sensitive than dogs. And I don't know that I would actually use essential oils topical or internally with cats. And I just don't have enough background or experience myself on that to advise. But if you were going to, these again are the oils that you want to avoid. Tea tree, also known as Melaleuca. The citrus oils, you're going to want to be careful with around cats: peppermint, spearmint, wintergreen, and birch. Now to get on to the fun stuff of how to use them and what kind of dilution, because dilution is really important. So I wanted to give you this reference, essentialoilvet.com. Her name is Janet Rourke, and she is a veterinarian that uses essential oils a lot with all types of animals. And on her website, if you you can enter your email address, and she will send you kind of a beginner's guide to using essential oils with animals. And this chart that I've put on the screen here is in that PDF. So again, if you go out to that website, and I believe, you know, by giving your email address, you're allowing to be put on her email list. But she's got a ton of great information on her website. And this dilution chart I really wanted to share with you, because people are always asking, well, how should I dilute the oil, or how much dilution? And you can see with cats here, you're going to want a 0.5 to 2% dilution rate. So then if we look at the chart, you can see that 1 drop of essential oil, you'd want to put in 1 teaspoon of a carrier oil. So for instance, our 5 ml is, excuse me, I'm hoping you can see me on my camera, but the 5 ml is our smaller bottles of oil. So you would want this to be full of, like, let's say fractionated coconut oil, but then have maybe 1 drop of lavender in there. And that's going to give you the 1% dilution rate. With dogs, it's going to depend on their weight. You know, if you have a tiny little peanut that's, you know, between 3 and 8 pounds, you're really going to want something very diluted. So you're going to want to stay in that 0.5% dilution rate. Whereas if your dog weighs over 20 pounds, you can bump up to 3% dilution rate. And then, you know, it's kind of just like using essential oils on ourselves. It's a little bit of trial and error and finding what works for your animal. So I just thought that was important to kind of mention. And then as you can see, again, I took this from her website. She works a lot with all kinds of animals. So she's got some information for horses, goats, and sheep, and rabbits and other small rodents. So I encourage you to check her out. She's got a ton. She also has a Facebook page where she's got a ton of great information as well. And then I'm just going to focus on dogs here for a little bit. And this is Frankie. And I forgot to introduce some of the other animals that we passed. But when you're using essential oils on dogs, it's really similar to when you're using them on humans. So if you think about what kind of problem they're experiencing, so for instance, let's say that they're having a lot of anxious feelings, maybe they're very unsettled. Zeke has started to kind of get really anxious during thunderstorms. So I kind of think about, okay, well, what oils would I use to help calm me down? Frankincense, copaiba, lavender, Roman chamomile, those are all very soothing and calming oils. So I would just have him smell the bottle. Again, I keep it closed and just let him kind of approach it and see if he likes it, and he starts to lick. And then if I know that he likes that oil, I'm going to dilute it. So sometimes what I'll do, and again, I've used oils on him a lot. So that chart, I mean, I'm kind of in that ballpark, but I will pour, you know, about a teaspoon's amount of coconut oil in my palm. And then I'll just put 1 drop, or sometimes I'll just touch the top of the bottle to my palm just so I get a little bit. And I'll rub my palms together. And again, I let him smell the oil. And then I will rub the oil, you know, along his spine, on his paws. Sometimes I'll rub it on his ears. If your dog has really long ears, you want to be careful, because when they shake their head, if their ears, you know, kind of hit them in the eye, you don't want, again, the essential oil getting in their eye. So if they have long ears, avoid that. But if they've got short ears, rubbing your palms on their ears can also help calm them down. Then again, too, if you have, if your dog is suffering with some digestive discomfort, rubbing it on their belly, or if they're having some respiratory distress, sometimes I'll just let Zeke kind of smell the oil from my palms instead of applying it topically to him, because he tends to get a little, I don't know if it's allergies, or I don't know if dogs can have asthma, but when he plays really rough, he's out of breath and he's getting up there in age. So I'll just let him smell, like eucalyptus would be one, a great respiratory oil. So again, thinking along the lines of what your pet, you know, what system might be impacted in their body, and thinking about what oil you might use for yourself for that situation. And then just making sure to avoid the oils that I mentioned on the previous slides. And I can't stress this enough, letting them smell it first and making sure that it's something they like, you know, because they don't have the ability to go, you know, rinse it off if they don't like it. And again, their sense of smell is so much more intense than ours. You want to make sure that they like it first before you apply it on them topically. What else? So yeah, I hope that kind of gives you some ideas. And then I just wanted to mention some other things to think about when you're using essential oils. You know, thinking about the bigger picture, kind of a more holistic view, thinking about what you use to clean your house. And when you think about animals, they are on the floor a lot. So what do you clean your floors with? Are you using, you know, harmful chemicals on your wood floor, or gosh, you know, I forget what company it is. Actually, I want to say Febreze or something else, but a lot of them that have that stuff you can sprinkle on your carpet and let sit and then vacuum up. That is leaving toxins on the floor that, you know, your pet, and even you as yourself, when you walk, and if you have little kids that are crawling on the floor, they're absorbing that into their system. So I've got a couple of ideas here for you in some upcoming slides, but just thinking more about that holistic view. Something else that I wanted to mention, of course, if you're using essential oils, hopefully you're using a diffuser and you're not using any of those plugins. I wanted to tell a little story. I had a neighbor a couple of years ago. She had 2 beautiful dogs, and when she wasn't home, she kept them in her laundry room. And we lived in townhouses, and the laundry rooms were upstairs, and it was just, you know, big enough for the washer and dryer, and then maybe just a little bit more space. But she kept her dogs in there, and she was constantly taking her dogs to the vet. And her dogs were on all kinds of medication because they had these really severe allergies. What she had in the laundry room, not only did she have laundry detergent in there and fabric softener, which if you're using, you know, anything with, some of that stuff is just so loaded with toxins. I can't even walk down that aisle in the grocery store myself. So not only were those things in the laundry room, but she had those scented plugins in there. And I really think what was happening is the dogs were reacting to the scented plugins and the laundry detergent and the fabric softener. So if you're using those, please stop, because they're hurting you and your animals. And then, you know, perhaps other cleaners that you're using might be harmful to them as well as yourself. And then something else I wanted to mention is, you know, what's really interesting. So Zeke is my first animal that I've ever had, my first dog. And the longer I have him, I tend to notice when I'm kind of stressed out, or just kind of not, you know, kind of an emotional mess, I start to see him kind of mimic or act out in a way. And I think that animals are so sensitive to the energy around them that they're processing what we're processing too. So again, using essential oils to help them with their emotions can be helpful. Another thing I wanted to mention is just to have you think about what you're using when you bathe your dog. You know, is it a shampoo? Where did you get it? What's in that shampoo? There's, you know, you could get real easily some Castile soap, the liquid soap, and then again, let your pet pick an oil and just add a drop or two of that to the unscented Castile soap, and poof, you've got a shampoo for your animal that's non-toxic. And then also, you know, all the kinds of things that animals get into, cuts, scrapes, scratches. Maybe they rolled around something in the backyard that smells god awful. We've got an oil for that. So the first recipe I wanted to give here is for a flea and tick spray. And this is a recipe. You're going to want a 2-ounce glass bottle. And you're gonna fill the bottle almost all the way with aloe vera juice, or you can use just some distilled water, whatever's easiest for you. And then again, as I mentioned, you might want to have your pet smell the oils that I've recommended here. You know, if there's one that they don't like, you can leave it out. But this recipe that I recommend is 5 drops of cedarwood, 4 drops of lavender, 3 drops of geranium, and 1 drop of lemongrass. And you're just going to mix it in the 2-ounce bottle. And each time you use it, you'll want to shake it before you spray it. And again, what I do is I'll spray it into my hands and then rub it over Zeke. And especially, I like to do this when we're going to go hiking. We like to go hiking a lot. And so I will kind of rub it along his spine and on his back and then on his belly, and try and get his legs and kind of his neck area. doTERRA also has a blend called TerraShield, which is our outdoor blend. And that one is great. I've used that on Zeke as well. And again, I just add a little bit more carrier oil before I apply it to him. And he really likes that one, so he doesn't seem to mind too much. But again, I always put it into my palms and then kind of give him a nice little rub down. I don't know when, I think once when he was a puppy, we were trying to prevent him from jumping up on stuff, and we used the whole spray bottle with water technique. So he does not like to be approached with a spray bottle. But again, if I just apply it in my palms, then I can kind of rub the oils on him, and he doesn't seem to mind that too much. When we first got Zeke, again, I was a new dog mom. I have no experience, but we were giving him that frontline stuff. And every time I put it on him, it just didn't feel right with me. Of course, the vet is going to tell you that they need to have that. And depending on where you live too, I mean, we live in the suburbs. He doesn't get out too much where he's exposed to too many bugs. But, you know, if you live on a farm or something, you might have to apply the oil more regularly, or kind of experiment or go with whatever your vet is recommending too. Again, I'm just speaking from my experience with my little Peanut. Another idea that I have that's really kind of cool is you can take their dog collar and soak it in about 4 ounces of distilled water, and then add some oils. So I have some recommendations here. Thyme, peppermint, lavender, cedarwood, citronella, or lemon eucalyptus. You're just going to let the collar soak in the water and the oil mixture, and then allow it to dry, and then you can put it on the dog. During the warmer months here in Minnesota, you know, you might want to repeat this every couple weeks or even once a month or as needed. I don't do this in the winter because everything freezes and there's just not a lot of bugs. Yay! So that's just another idea for you as a way to kind of help with fleas and ticks. And then, like I mentioned here, you know, using a carpet mixture to kind of spread on the carpet. You know, when you have an animal, the house can tend to kind of stink sometimes. So what I do every so often is I'll mix up a cup of baking soda. You can add 1/3 cup of borax if you like. Um, I've actually never done that, but the recipe that I found included borax, so I thought I'd put that on there. And then you can add 10 drops of an essential oil of your choice. I really like to use On Guard. That is a blend, and it does have cinnamon and clove, eucalyptus, rosemary, and wild orange in it. But it's one that Zeke kind of likes. And again, the cinnamon and the clove, I'm not putting it directly on him. And when I sprinkle the stuff on the carpeting, he tends to just go into another room anyway. A little tip that I have that I think is really kind of handy is, so I'll mix it up, you know, like in a steel or glass bowl with a slotted spoon or a fork. You really want to incorporate the oil, because when you drop the oil into the baking soda, it just kind of turns into a clump. So you really want to make sure that you get it nice and mixed in. But then you transfer that mixture. What I do is I save like a sour cream or a yogurt container, and I took a hole punch and I punched holes in the lid, on half of the lid. So then it just becomes this amazing little sprinkle container that you can kind of sprinkle, you know, around the area. And then you're going to want to let that sit for about 20 or 30 minutes on the carpeting. And then you're just going to vacuum as normal. And voila, it's going to smell fabulous in the house. And a side bonus here is that it's in your vacuum. So now that essential oil is in the vacuum, and it's going to kill whatever's sitting in there. So it's kind of a double whammy, cleans the vacuum and the carpeting, a 2-for-1. But I like to do that, maybe once a month or every other month, just when it kind of starts to stink. And it's funny because my husband just told me the other day, he's like, I think it's time to clean again. So it's just something that you can do whenever you feel like. And then I thought I would put a recipe in here too for anxious pet sprays, whether it's loud noises that might scare your dogs, or again, if you've been feeling a lot of anxious feelings just with this year, your pets are feeling it too. So this is a great recipe. Again, you're going to take a 2-ounce glass spray bottle and add about 10 drops of lavender, 5 drops of cedarwood, 2 drops of vetiver, and 2 drops of frankincense. And again, you can play with the ratio of the amount of drops or omit an oil if it's one that your pet doesn't like. And you're just going to fill the rest of the bottle with distilled oil or distilled water, or a carrier oil, so something like fractionated coconut oil that's liquid at room temperature. And then just shake it up before you use it. And again, I spray it in my palms, rub my palms together, let him smell. I can take a nice big inhale from it as well, because those are all oils that I would use, again, for myself to help calm my emotions. So it works both ways. But it's a nice little recipe to mix and have ready to go. And then I thought I would include a recipe for toothpaste too. So this recipe is 1 tablespoon of bentonite clay, 1 tablespoon of baking soda. I've also seen a lot of recipes where it's just baking soda and water, but I thought this one was kind of neat. If you have a cat, you can use 1 drop of myrrh, or if you have a dog, you can use 1 drop of peppermint. And then you're going to add enough refined or unrefined coconut oil. So that is the coconut oil that's going to be more of a solid at room temperature. You're going to add it just in the mixing bowl enough to make a paste. And then you can just dab a little bit on the brush and brush your pet's teeth. If you have leftover, you can just store it in a glass jar and just keep it out of sunlight. And if you have luck brushing your dog's teeth, all the power to you. You know, if you do it once a month, once a week, once a day, that's awesome. That is something that we struggle with here in this house, but I thought nonetheless it would be fun to give you a toothpaste recipe. Also, I just want to mention that doTERRA does have a toothpaste And please do not use that with your pets. It has xylitol in it, which again is not, it's toxic to dogs, and I'm guessing cats as well. So that's why I wanted to include a recipe, you know, and it's just really easy to mix up and you can keep in a jar and then use anytime that you want to take that adventure of brushing their teeth. And then I also wanted to include some references here for you. And these books were kind of my go-to for preparing the information for tonight. And I have all three of them and I reference them quite often. And so the first one being the Essential Oils for Pets Guidebook. And that is by Janet Rourke. And that is the website that I mentioned earlier. And she also happens to be on doTERRA's Veterinarian Advisory Board. And her book just came out not too long ago. I believe it's available on Amazon. But if not, all three of these books can be found on aromatools.com. The second book that's got a lot of great things in it is Spoil Your Pet by Mia Frezzo and Jan Jeremias. Hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And then the last one is Essential Oils for Dogs and Cats by Skye Patterson. And in all of these books, it goes a lot more in depth to specific concerns that your dog might be having, whether it's, you know, just all different kinds of health concerns. So I wanted to let you know about those resources that I used for putting this information together. And also, if you have specific concerns, please feel free to reach out to me. I'd be happy to look in the books too and help give you some ideas. I wanted to keep tonight's information kind of broad and general, just to give everyone a starting point and to help you feel more comfortable using oils with your animals. And I just wanted to give a thank you and a shout out to all of our furry family members. They make us smile. They make life more fun. And just to give a shout out to all of my models for this evening presentation, Zeke, Penny, Frankie, Ragnar, Tipper, Snickerdoodle, Pickles, and Mozzie. Thank you so much to your owners for sharing some pictures with me to include tonight. And I hope that you learned something tonight that just helps you feel a little more comfortable in using essential oils with your animals. And I'm just going to